Classic players have been hearing the same mantra of Molten Core is easy, wait for Blackwing Glare, then it'll actually get hard. Blackwing Glare is easy, wait until Anki Rush, now that will be some difficult content. Yeah, Anki Rush was actually in Earth state, wait for Nax, I bet you won't clear a single wing. Yeah, people were still saying this even about Wrath Nax and Ulduar. And with Ulduar out, we can finally see for ourselves if this time it's actually true or not. By the way, did you know that our channel subscribers report easier time clearing Ulduar? The sub button is right below the video. Just saying. Anyway, when you step into the raid, you are greeted with probably the easiest boss of the expansion, Flame Pinata, which can be cleared by 25 monkeys pushing random buttons. But don't be fooled, this is by no means an indication of how difficult the rest of the raid is. Flame Leviathan does have a hard mode though, which requires you to turn on your brain and work in synergy with other vehicles in your raid. It's not the hardest hard mode in the raid, but it's not the easiest either. The hard mode loot is also not too game breaking, so you can leave Leviathan hard mode for later without missing out too much. After you're hopefully done with the loot tank, you have two optional bosses to the left and right, and a required for progression boss right ahead. Boss to the left, Ignis the Furnace Master, is a pretty good gear and mechanic check for your raid. A 20 million HP dude with no enrage timer who gets 20% extra damage for each ad alive. But the catch is, you can't just kill the ad. You have to first heat it up in fire, then shatter in water. This is also where DPS finally have to turn on their monitor. Otherwise, melees will just die in fire and casters will get their casts interrupted pretty often. Boss does some good raid-wide damage, so the fight is mostly dependent on heals and tanks. On the opposite side, you have a Drake that flies around and spits fire on your raid, and you only have 40 seconds every 2 minutes to do damage to her. The catch is, if you don't get her to 50% in 2 landing phases, she will likely enrage and kill everyone, and if you do get her to 50% on second landing phase, you'll only have around 2 minutes to take out other 50%. Basically a DPS check. Straight ahead, you have a huge robot which is one of the easiest bosses in normal mode, but probably the hardest when engaged in hard mode. Every 25% health, the boss drops down a core with 10 million HP that takes 50% increased damage and transfers all the damage inflicted to the boss, which, if done correctly, lets you take the boss from 75% all the way down to 10% barely engaging the boss itself, purely by damaging the core. On the other hand, if you take down the core and it drops, you engage the hard mode, during which boss gets 90% health increase and 40% damage increase. Oh, and forget about the free damage via the core. You destroyed it, remember? With the core gone, you only get about 5 minutes to take down almost 50 million HP in 25-man mode or 10 million in 10-man mode. I don't think XT hard mode will be beaten by 90% guilds anytime soon, as you will need over 9k DPS from every DPS in your raid to succeed, and that's currently pretty hard to do consistently. Maybe I'm wrong and most guilds skipped XT hard mode just to get to Algalon faster. It'll be pretty interesting to watch Warcraft logs next week, that's for sure. After you clear the first 4 bosses of Ulduar, you can already get a general idea of what's waiting ahead. The bosses have much more HP than those in Naxxramas, each one of them has at least 50% more mechanics to follow, and the hard mods are actually challenging. But they're completely optional. They are worth it though, as currently the items that you get from 25-man Ulduar hard mods have higher item level than those found in 10-man Icecrown Citadel. Man, it'll be fun to see Blizzard buff item levels even further. We may even see items with level 300 this expansion. Can you believe it? Anyway, to answer the question we all came here for, will Ulduar finally be that one raid that we can point at and say, see, I told you it gets harder this time around? Yes and no. Normal mods are entirely doable by your average group with full Naxxramas gear, and while they are challenging, they aren't game-breakingly hard. But if you are a hardcore player dying to be challenged in this 15-year-old game, then hard mode encounters will definitely scratch this itch. At least until the entire raid is in full best in slot. At that point, I don't doubt even hard mods will be trivialized and we'll see another round of nah, Ulduar wasn't that hard. It was just unusual after Nax. Icecorn Citadel is where it's at.